Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I wanted to make a quick video on some of the things that I enjoy and maybe don't enjoy as much about the Corvette. The C6 is a great car, it's a great platform, but I know a lot of people make some of these fun videos that kind of let you guys know what we like and we hate about the car. And there's nothing I really hate, it's more of kind of what I dislike about the C6. So if we go ahead and jump right into it, let's start on some of the things that I don't enjoy about the C6. The first one, and this is a major one for the C6 platform, is the marbles in a can scenario. And that is, there is tons of clutch rattle. There's just bumps and pops that come from under the car that they're just always there, and it does sound like something's wrong. There's hundreds and hundreds of pages on the forums talking about this issue. Everybody seems to have it in one way or another. There's so many different forms of it, but they just go ahead and call it marbles in the can. And essentially, every C5 and C6, and probably even the C4s from those platforms have been kind of plagued by this problem. And I guess I shouldn't call it a problem. There's nothing wrong with the car, but it sure sounds like it at times. I've heard people make comments like, oh, what was that noise, that squeak or that clack, or just some sort of popping and rattling. And it's just the normal sound of the vehicle. Like I said, there's just usually a lot of clutch slack and some rattle in there, but nothing's wrong with the vehicle. But it is something that it doesn't sound great, it doesn't sound as refined, and I believe they've actually fixed that in the C7 platform. There was such a major overhaul with the new C7 platform, and they've done such a great job with it, and I think they kind of got rid of most of those issues. Now, with any Corvette, you are going to have some squeaks and some pops, but for the most part, the major marbles in a can issue has been resolved from what I've heard. But if you're looking at a C6, and there's a lot of great value there, it is one of those things you'll hear, and I was worried, but don't worry, it's normal. The car is just fine. Now, the next thing I'd like to move on to that I don't care for too much is the interior quality. Now, the interior quality of this car is great in some aspects, and I'll actually hit that on something that I like about the interior quality, but first, I don't like the front console and even part of the instrument cluster. The front console, it's just plastic. It looks like it came out of a Chevy Cobalt, and it certainly could have. It just feels cheap and plasticky, and the worst part is my car did not come with a touchscreen navigation. It was this basic CD player, AM/FM radio, no Bluetooth, no cable connection. You just could not play anything that you wanted to off of your iPhone. And it was a huge problem. You could have, I guess, used one of those AM/FMs, but I hated those. Those you get a lot of static on. I just don't care for them. So I did, as you guys know in one of my videos, upgraded that head unit. That's been a major lifesaver, but on the original interior, it was a huge problem. I just did not like it. And then some of the other pieces that you can feel when you hit the traction control button, you can tell it's just kind of a plastic flimsy button. I'm even getting some wear on my manual transmission knob, but that can be expected. Luckily, my steering wheel is in great shape. They did use some good materials, but some of them, they just felt like they kind of lack that nice interior quality feeling. And the C7, again, huge upgrade. I've driven one of those and it's phenomenal. Unfortunately, the C6 is lacking in that area. So, what else? The interior quality, I don't know if it's the interior quality that does this, but there are some squeaks. It's not the marbles in a can feature, but there's some squeaks that go on, especially around the windshield where some of the plastic components come together. They will drive you nuts if you notice them. It's one of those things that while you're driving around, you won't really notice it because you'll be hearing the engine or the exhaust note, or you'll actually be listening to some music. But if you're being really quiet, you'll hear these high-pitched squeaks, and they just kind of go on non-stop, and eventually you stop noticing them. But while you kind of have your mind on it, it'll drive you nuts. And so I've been able to fix a couple of them, but there's just notorious issues of these squeaks from the interior. And I think it is that plastic, a lot of them hitting some of the windshield frames or some of the other just plastics meeting together and making a high-pitched squeak. So be on the lookout for that if you are looking for a C6. Now, the last kind of dislike I have, and it's something I probably should have known, but guys, remember, I was not aware of some of the things that come with buying a sports car. The biggest one is ride height. The ride height is just substantially lower than a normal vehicle. There are so many times that I have tried to take an angle and I still scrape. It's actually a plastic kind of air dam that's under the vehicle. I'm not scraping the bumper, but it sure gets close. And when you make that scrape, if there's anybody around, they hear it and they're always looking at you, wondering. It's kind of an embarrassing situation. And I can't tell you how many times I have driven this vehicle to a place that I haven't, been to before, and I can't make the entrance ramp. If it's a really steep ramp, whether it's down or up, there's times I'll be driving, nope, can't make that. Drive around, nope, can't make that. Sometimes I'll have to park across the street in a flat area and walk across to where I'm trying to go if they do not have an entrance ramp that is sloped at a right angle. If it is really, really sloped, you're out of luck unless you really want to try to go for it, and you probably will scrape your bumper. And guys, there are cars much lower than this, but this is a low vehicle. And that brings me to, you will hit things. If there is something in the road, a normal vehicle might just skim right over, this will hit it. I was driving this car after having it for 2 weeks, and there was some hay that was dropped in the road. Normally, any vehicle probably would have just gone right over it. This vehicle wasn't even paying attention, saw it at the last moment, and bam, and it hit that plastic air duct or air dam that's under the vehicle, and it just exploded. It took me for a shock. The vehicle was fine, but it just shocked me. So make sure you're kind of aware of that if you're looking at a sports car for the first time. A lot of you may be aware of that, but it was just something that I had never experienced, and I do have to take in consideration when I'm driving the vehicle. Now, what do I love about the car? There are so many things I love about the car. It really is a great vehicle. So for some of you guys looking for a first-time sports car, this is something to heavily take a look at. It really does have a lot of great traits and qualities about it. And so let me start with the first one, and it's definitely performance. This car blew my mind. I knew it would be a fast vehicle, but everybody talks about, oh, the new C7s are so fast, the C6s before weren't always as fast. Now the Z06 of this model, or of this base C6 version, is phenomenally fast. It is incredibly fast. But this is too. This has 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, and it's only 3,250 pounds, roughly. That equates to a 0-60 time of 4.3 seconds. Guys, before I bought this vehicle, I got so wrapped up into, oh, what is the 0-60? Oh, it's not even under 4 seconds. You can drive any decently fast, regular day car, and this will feel so fast. At every speed, jumping on this at 60 miles an hour is so different than any other vehicle. I have an Acura TL, and I think its 0-60 is actually around 6 seconds. It's pretty, peppy. It has some force behind it, and it's about 270 horsepower. This just wipes the floor with it. It's just a different performance. It feels so raw, and it will stick you in your seat. And the performance, it just is amazing. I can't stress that enough. And I love the fact that I have the Z51 package that has the cross-drilled and slotted brakes. Those add so much grip to stopping. Guys, when you hit the accelerator on a vehicle like this and you are really pushing it, you go that much faster, which means you need to stop that much quicker. It's one of those things that until you drive one and really are pushing it, you don't realize the difference between 80 and 100 miles an hour coming to a stop. There is a significant difference, and you want the brakes to do that. This car is designed to make those stops, and it can do it effortlessly. I love, love, love the brakes on this vehicle. But that wraps up into the performance. So really, I am happy with that aspect of it. The second aspect that I love of this vehicle is the price. The price, I can't get over, and I've talked about it in other videos, but it is $25,000. That's what I paid for this vehicle. And you can pick up vehicles around that price point. Now, some of them will have higher mileage. I got a good deal. This thing only had 12,500 miles. It was a one owner. I was thrilled to pick it up. But you can find in the mid to high 20s a lightly used C6. So I really was blown away with that aspect. This car, the individual that purchased this before me, that was the first owner that bought it right off the showroom floor, he paid about $60,000 for it with all the upgrades. It only started at about $45,000, but once you add the 3LT package, the Z51, and some of the other interior and exterior mods that he added onto it, it was about $60,000, a little shy of that. I picked it up for $25,000. That's a huge depreciation hit that he took that I'm not going to have to take. So I love it for that aspect. I love that I got in it, and I love that I'm going to be able to get out of it and not take a huge depreciation hit. Now the next point I want to hit on is probably one of my favorites, and it's the sound and the exhaust note of this car. Now, I should say, when I purchased this vehicle, and I've talked about it before, and I think actually just in my last video, the exhaust note was so sad on this car. It just was unbelievable that a car that was a sports car, that was an icon, was so quiet. It had no noise to it. Now the engine sounded good, you could hear it from the front, but it had no exhaust, it had no gruff to it. A exhaust changed that dramatically. Even a softer exhaust will transform this car, but I went to about as hardcore. It's almost a straight pipe when I have my baffles open, and it transformed the car. It sounds incredible. I cannot stress that enough. I get so many thumbs up. Everybody that's around it, all my friends that hear it start up, they love it, and it just sounds so good. That V8, it's hard to beat that American V8 that you hear. And then with the exhaust, the Billy Boat exhaust fusions that I have coupled with it, it's just incredible. I can't imagine what headers and maybe a cam would sound like. But as of now, I'm so blown away by a $2,000 mod with a stock, pretty much everything else. It sounds phenomenal. I can't get over it. Every time it puts that smile on your face that you almost forget about it. I don't drive it for a couple days, and I kind of forget about it. As soon as I drive it, 10 seconds, just up the street, or even, I guess I should say, just on a cold start, it lights up your face, and it's the whole reason you purchased it. Even when you got to deal with some of the smaller headaches on the side, it's well worth it, and I love that. The very last point I'm going to talk about is an interior feature, and I know I said I didn't really care for the interior features, but I love these sport seats. These sport seats are so perfect. They just hold you and grip you, and when you're really pushing the car around turns, and even just in a straight line, they just hold you in. They're bolstered so great. I can't get over them. They're so soft, but yet they're firm. I don't know how to explain that. I know that's kind of a redundant statement, but they just work, and they did a phenomenal job on it, and I love them. And going from regular seats to these seats, just night and day. I can't express it enough. So guys, those are some of the points that I just love about this car. I can't talk enough about it. I'm sure you can tell from my enjoyment that I am overwhelmingly happy with this purchase. It's a great first start, and I've said that a couple times, but I want to stress again, if you're watching this video and you're interested in your first sports car, you can't pass up this as an option. Now, a lot of people want that all-wheel drive, launch, that feeling, but it's hard to pass up on a fun rear-wheel drive vehicle. That's another kind of pro I should add in there. This thing is so much fun to drive. So don't forget about that. This really is a great looking car, and there's a lot you can do with it at a low price point. Guys, $25,000. That's what you can go pay for. I know it's a new vehicle, but you can go pay just a basic Toyota Corolla, and yet you can be driving one of these. It is one of those things that it's incredible. Now, you have to have the right elements line up for you. If you're in the Midwest like me, I have to have an everyday driver. This is not an everyday driver. When we have 6 inches of snow or ice, I'm not driving this vehicle. But if you're in a nice South, California sunny city, perfect option. It really can be driven every day. So it's just all of those variables that come together that just make it such a significant competitor and such a significant vehicle. And I just love it, and I appreciate you guys joining me on this video. I can't thank you guys enough for the support. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already if you want to continue joining me on this vlog. I'm still going to be putting out a video every day for 1 year. I think this is our 3rd vlog. It's just hard to believe that I'm still going to be doing this, but I'm so excited, and I want to thank you guys for all of your support. You all have a great day, and take care.